Welcome, brothers and sisters of the Horn. With our elite female viewership, there might be up to half of 1% watching. If you're out there, thank you. We're trying to grow that segment. Everybody, we are here with the one and only Paul Wadlington. Excellent insight, always a unique angle. I was reading through his postmortems this morning, and there's just no one else in the space that gives that kind of analysis and comes from these angles. So always appreciate it, Paul.
Where can they read those postmortems, Connor?
They can read them on InsideTexas.com. It's a fun website where me and my Longhorn buddies, we write about the team, and we have a message board, and everyone on there is real smart and real nice. It's a good group. On today's show, y'all, we have quick Michigan thoughts. We're not going to dwell on it. I feel like we've talked about it enough, but just kind of quick takeaways that are going to help us advance throughout the season. Then me and Paul are going to look at the UTSA offense. Newsflash, they don't look that good. Then we're going to look at the UTSA defense. Second newsflash of the day, also not doing well right now. And then at the end, we are going to look at the weekly games of interest, the teams we're going to play going forward. We don't have a lot. I think there's kind of 3 key games there, but that's going to be interesting. So, Paul, let us begin. So your postmortems, kind of what were your – on offense and defense, what are the big takeaways? What did you learn at Michigan that's going to help us move forward?
I have a big overarching theme that we've learned. I think Michigan was confirmatory of some things we saw against Colorado State, which is this is a football team that can play in different ways, in different styles on both sides of the ball. And we can do that both schematically, but also in terms of our personnel packages. So, Connor, in that Michigan game, our defense ran 3-man fronts, 4-man fronts, 5-man fronts. I saw the old 5-2, Connor. I was taken back to my high school days where the 5-2 was the base defense of Texas high school football. Those were days are long gone, Connor. That's when people ran things called the option and the veer and the wishbone. But that was really interesting. We played different personnel groups. You guys all know that we've reintroduced the dirty dime, which Ian and I are ecstatic over. I think we wished that into existence with our little vision boards that we keep in our closets.
Yeah,
that's right. The secret is real, Connor. You can manifest it.
Yeah, that book when I was 19, I read that book and I was like, this is some powerful stuff here.
Bro, I'm going to get a check for $1 million today because I'm going to manifest it.
You just think it and it happens. You need no action.
So I think on offense, hey, something that we prefaced and something I really hammered home was, hey, I love that Will Johnson is an NFL corner for Michigan. We can ignore him. He's irrelevant to our game plan. And people were sort of like, oh, you're kind of he was irrelevant to our game plan. Why? Because every time we go out on the field, we've got 5 legitimate passing options. If you had Gunnar Helm, 7 catches, 98 yards, and a tutty on your bingo card, God bless you. But I don't think a lot of us did. And we're looking at our number 4 option scorching the defending national champions on their home field. And frankly, if we wanted to feed him, I think the guy could have had 150. So, we can play in a lot of different ways. And more importantly, we can take what you want to do defensively and say, nah, you're going to have to beat us doing something else. And I just think this is people always look at talent, very important. Jimmy's and Joe's, very important. Yep. People also underrate being veteran and being smart. And this Texas team is smart, and this Texas team is veteran. And you can really see that in our secondary, Connor. If you play well in the secondary, a lot of things that would have otherwise been 50, 60-yard plays for the opponent turn into 9-yard gains, and you move on to the next down, and you get a stop, and you forgot that potential explosive never happened. So all in all, very happy about the University of Texas and very excited about the next 3 weeks because Texas is going to face UTSA, ULM at home, of course. Bye. We'll tackle that bye week. Can't lose to that on 4th or 6th Street.
Yeah, that's a W.
And then of course, we open with Mississippi State. So this is a great opportunity the next 3 games to get a lot of guys playing time, but also refine some parts of this football team and get them ready for a really tough stretch in the middle of October.
Yeah, it's going to be important these next couple weeks. Rest up, heal up, get a ton of guys reps, and then also work more on the execution because Sark is going to also, he's not taking anything out of the bag for these next couple games, hopefully. And so that's going to be interesting. I'm I was excited by what I saw. That's impressive, man. Going to Ann Arbor, dominate like that from the start. Like you said with the secondary, I thought of the Taft tackle on Donovan Edwards where he almost got loose. Just those little things that could have been problems and weren't because we have smart players.
It's funny. I did my Everyone Gets a Trophy podcast last night with Randy Boone, and we talked about exactly that play. How I think last year Taft would have been a little out of position, and we would have watched Donovan Edwards run by, and they would have gotten a cheap score just because we blew a run fit with Benda, and then Bill Norton and Lole were in there at the same time. They didn't exactly dominate the middle on that play, and Taft, he runs up, and it becomes an 11-yard gain and a big yawn, and you move on to the next play. Last year, if you have other safeties in there, I'll just leave it at that. I think they're out of position. It's 55, 60 yards to the house.
Yeah, and that allows Edwards to get going, and he needs that. He needs that initial proof of concept to get going, and we were able to shut him down. I refuse to dream big until we beat OU and go into Georgia week undefeated. It's been interesting doing my breakdowns because normally people accuse me of making every team look like the 85 Bears.
Yes.
But that's also because I just couldn't trust the team on some of these things, and now it feels different doing analysis where I'm just like, and we are better in every single category. All right, this is going to be I was telling my friends, Georgia and Alabama analysts have not had to work for the past 15 years. They've just been like, yep, these teams are good. So
the Tad is better. We gonna win. That's
really when you're looking at the diagnostics, the report, you're just like, yeah, this is a better team. And so in this breakdown I'm working on, I'm like, I would normally worry about UTSA being a trap game. I'm not worried about it this week. And of course, there's the jinx we all needed. But
yeah, that's. I think Marcus Freeman said that to his wife Friday
night for
the Northern Illinois
exactly.
game.
Well, yeah. So I'm trying to not make them look like the 85 Bears, but the one time I'm like, yeah, we got this. I'm sure that'll be some fun game. Are you ready to hit UTSA?
Yeah, because I think we are going to hit UTSA on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Let me pull up some stats. This is just what I use, guys, for my break.
Hey, while you're doing that, I'll give people a quick overview.
Go for it.
What happened? So UTSA opened the season with Kennesaw State.
Mm-hmm.
Kennesaw State is a spread run option team, and they give some people some problems because they do some things almost like a service academy.
Yeah.
UTSA handily defeated them on the stat sheet, but the score was 28-16, and they had a pretty laggard second half. And I think that showed that this UTSA team in particular, not quite the group of veterans and the cast of characters that we're used to. Not just Dr. Frank Harris, who's spent 19 years in school and earned 3 PhDs, the Van Wilder of San Antonio.
Yeah.
They also got in Rashad Wisdom at safety, who was a 4-year starter. And he was sort of the equivalent of Frank Harris at safety, kind of coordinating things. And they really missed those guys. And they also, like everyone in the G5, sad state of college affairs, not for us, but they lost their 2 best players on defense. They lost Trey Moore, starting for Texas, and they lost their cornerback, who was their bowl game MVP, who's starting for Oregon. So, when you're a G5 team, you can't take those kind of body blows and just shake it off. And so that's why UTSA is bringing in some late portal transfers with some questionable backgrounds, and they're having to try to integrate that into their team. And they're struggling. And then, of course, they went to San Marcos and got the doors blown off by Traylor's old quarterback, GJ Kinney. And GJ was nice. It was 35-3 at halftime, and he took his foot off the pedal. 49-10 was the final result. UTSA looked like crap. They didn't tackle well. They didn't play cohesively, and they got their ass beat both run and pass game. So I think it's going to be a wounded animal coming into DKR. And I think they're going to try to salvage some pride. And it's important that Texas squash that from them early in the game and let them know that this isn't going to be their little, feel-good story where they rally against the Giant after a tough loss.
Yeah, and you remember 2 years ago, Traylor liked the trick plays. He liked the hyper-aggression, all that kind of G5 punching up stuff. We want to avoid that. Homer, you got to get Fanatic Perspective on some of these lives. I absolutely will.
What's FP?
Fanatic Perspective.
What's Fanatic Perspective?
It's another YouTube channel. He's the original, man. So he's probably, I don't know how many years ago. Feels like 10 years ago. He was the first Texas football YouTube channel.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry I didn't know him.
Yeah, he's awesome. But absolutely Jacob, I'm always down to do something with Steve. Okay. So quick kind of overview, guys. Of course, red is bad. So you're seeing this looks like a Christmas tree. And so no good. Points per game, 82nd in the nation. Thing of note, they do run a lot of plays per game, quick passing game generally. So a lot of short passing game stuff. So expect guys going to the sticks, tight end going to the stick, quarterback working out to the sideline, trying to hit his guy 10 yards out on the sideline. It's all first read stuff. You take away the first read, the quarterback's super struggle, quick screens.
Hey, I don't want to derail the momentum of the stats already, but
no.
You think they'll run tempo against us?
I think they would. I think they want to. I don't. I think they're going to 3 and out.
Yeah, I'm kind of reminded of the old adage that they say in the military: "Never hurry to your death."
Right. Well, I feel it's kind of like the OU problem that they had. Like you can be really quick with that stuff, short game, but if you're not successful on that, you're just going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
That's what I was saying. I mean, it's tough. I understand you want to put Texas on their heels a little bit, maybe, but. Well, if you watch our secondary this year, they're not on their heels.
Here we'll see in a second. If they want to slow it down with the run game, that's absolutely not going to happen. That's guaranteed death for them.
Yeah.
So just really bad overall. There's really just not a lot of stuff going on there, and they experience a lot of havoc, right? So people trying to sack them, batted balls, that kind of stuff. You can really frustrate the quarterbacks. Their major issue why they can't do anything and they're constantly going to end up in 3rd and longs is because they have no run game. So 111th in the nation in yards per rush.
So this is shocking because coming into the season, Traylor and all the analysis pointed to the fact that they would be able to run the ball. They have a pretty experienced O-line. They've got 3 good running backs like Borian Barnes. These are like solid players.
Yep.
And they have an inexperienced quarterback. So makes sense. Hey, let's get physical. Let's run the ball. Let's be, a tough football team. And they cannot run the ball on Kennesaw State and Texas State. 2 teams, by the way, last year, at least, you could run the ball on.
Yep. And so they're not bad rushing yards per rush, bad rushing success rate. So they're not a consistent
79 per game. Woo, Lordy.
Yep. So not consistent. They can't gain ground. And then if you're not consistent, we had this problem last year with Texas. We weren't consistent, but we were explosive. If you're not consistent, you have to be explosive. They're not either. So they absolutely cannot do anything. 115th in the country in rushing explosivity. So they're not even getting lucky every now and then. So it's brutal. They can't do anything on 1st and 2nd down, and therefore they're in these 3rd and longs, these impossible situations. And with a short passing offense, you don't want to be 3rd and long. If you see hyper aggressive in the pass attempts per game, 4th in the nation. So all this really a lot of passing, a lot of quick stuff, all first read, and you're going to look pre-snap. I mean, the quarterback – they do the typical. It's where the side they look at twice, right? Quarterbacks look here, they look left, and the side they come back to. The one that they're looking at twice is where the ball's going. So just
passing explosivity, no bueno. So
87.
This is they can't run the ball in their dink and dunk passing game. That's not a good combination for if you want to upset Texas with inferior talent or you want to hang with Texas, you need to hit some explosives. Right, you're not going to do this steady Chinese water torture 20-play 80-yard drives, right?
Yep. Remember 2 years ago, I mean, they had 3 receivers that are 2 of them went Power 5. The other one, DeCorian Clark, is still on the team and he's injured right now. But they had Frank Harris and those 3 wide receivers. That was probably the 2nd best receiver trio that we faced that entire season, and they were super good. They don't have that right now, so it's tough. And then just kind of the overall stuff, FEI, advanced metric, they're the 95th overall offense in the country. 3rd down situation.
I think Zachary Franklin is still out there playing, right?
Yeah.
He transferred out.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah. And then Cephas or whatever, Joshua Cephas.
Yes, sir.
So 3rd down, they struggle as well, 76 in the country. So, and thing of note, they were 98th in the country in returning production.
Hey, speaking of the offense, Jacob Woodyard queued us up with a great question.
Is Cardenas still on the team? He absolutely is. He is actually
Cardenas. He is there.
He's low on targets. He only has like 2, but they bring him in when it matters. So he is absolutely on the team. And if for whatever reason they're down at the goal line and he pops up, they're going to sneak him out for a little ball. But he's actually not the one. He's the third most targeted tight end currently, but he's the most trusted.
6'4", 270. He's actually slimmed up a little bit. And so one thing, just to give you guys a little color, single-digit numbers, particularly a 1, a 2, or a 0, like the area code at San Antonio, 210, that has a particular meaning in UTSA and Traylor's program. Single-digit numbers are a big honor, but also particularly if you wear 0, 1, or 2, you're regarded as like a guy and a captain and a leader. So Cardenas is a 0. Frank Harris used to be number 0, if that kind of helps you understand.
Yeah.
Little color for the people there, Connor.
Yeah, all the fans, the UTSA fans, they're always like, when are the single digits going to drop? And it really is a big thing there.
Yep.
But that's the overview of the offense, guys. I mean, we can't really sugarcoat it. It's just a bad offense. They can't run the court. Oh yeah, let's talk quarterback, right? So McCown, their quarterback, he's a Colorado transfer. He's the son of Josh McCown, the NFL journeyman that was on I think probably every NFL team as the second, third string quarterback. And then he's a Texas guy. Did he play at A&M?
Randy McCown. His brother was the quarterback at A&M. Josh played at SFA.
Oh, okay. SFA. So his dad was a pro journeyman for years. And you can see that with the quarterback playing. Like, as soon as he snaps it, he knows his read. He's just not doesn't have a very dynamic arm, not dynamic in the run game. Can get flustered when that first read isn't there. But also, I think this offense is very boring and doesn't really allow them to be creative that often. But he got benched versus Texas State. He would go straight to the sideline and he wouldn't talk to anybody. There wouldn't be QB coach. Nobody would come up to him. And he would kind of go, he wasn't like pouting or throwing his helmet around, nothing like that. I just noticed, he's kind of this lone wolf and he clearly looks frustrated. But to be frank, the entire team, including the coaches, look frustrated because they can't do anything on offense right now.
Hey, I think actually, just to correct the record, Josh McCown played at Sam Houston.
Okay.
But he, if you look at him, that dude played in the NFL for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And he actually started and did pretty well for some stretches. I mean, he threw for like 20,000 yards in the NFL. So he wasn't.
They do story. Like I've seen little NFL videos on him talking about like what it means to be like a second string quarterback and like how to be that impressive. Like they've done features on him. He's like a real known.
Yeah. The McCown brothers are kind of a legend in East Texas. This is where we need to cut to a Justin Wells segue.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, bring in Justin Hurt, East Texas. He's running on the live right now.
Let me tell you about the McCowns, Connor. Back for a minute. I'm going to tell you about this game that I was at. They're playing Marshall. They're down by 62. Yep. Josh McCown throws 9 consecutive touchdowns.
Dogs. So McCown gets benched, and Eddie Lee Marburger comes in, and he performs worse in every statistical category.
That's good.
So it was there's no change of speed pitch here, and the fastball gets home runned every time. So it's
fastball's 82 down the middle.
Yeah. It's just I say this in the video. This does not look like a Jeff Traylor team. It's just weird. They're uncoordinated. They can't run anything. They have athletes. I was telling Paul they have athletes. It's not like they don't have the athletes they had, but for their league, they absolutely have athletes. It's just not going well with them.
Yeah, I think it's clunky. I think the real tell will be in conference. I did watch Jeff Traylor's after press conference against Texas State, and that guy looked devastated. And he just said, look, like we're not very veteran. And you can tell like the feeling that he conveyed, he didn't throw his team under the bus. But what he conveyed clearly was they got into a game against a good opponent that was fired up and that's been working Texas State's been working UTSA all offseason. And it showed they got smacked and they panicked and they freaked out in a hostile environment because they don't have the Frank Harris to go, hey, relax. I got this. We got this. We've been here before. So that's going to be tough. This is you nailed it, Roaster. This is a transition season. If you remember Pulp Fiction, when they're sitting in the diner and they're wearing the UC Banana Slugs t-shirts, and Samuel L. Jackson during the robbery is like, you seem to have caught us in a transitional period. That's I think Jeff Traylor right now.
And he was a little defeated last week after the Kennesaw State. The media, of course, they're not used to this. They're used to winning at UTSA. And so the media were kind of probing, hey, there's this major problem and this major problem. Are we going to have this cleaned up for Texas State? And he kind of just plainly was like, this doesn't get fixed in a week. And coaches normally are not that candid. But that does crack me up because the media is like, hey, the run game was porous and you guys can't block. Are we going to be good for next week? And it's like, guys, no, that's not how it works. And so it's going to be a tough season for them. I'll have to see how they do in conference, but not the start to it. And old Trailer looks a little bummed. I hope he can take Tech, Baylor, Arkansas. I don't know, but I hope he can move up and gig so he doesn't get kind of the Matt Campbell treatment.
Timing is important.
Absolutely. So let's pull something up here. Well, before we hit the defense, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Laura Baker.
Hi, I want to tell you about Laura Baker. If you're looking for a new home in the 512 or even at this point, let's face it, 737 area code, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. As a member of the elite Andy Allen team with Keller Williams, Laura has helped Longhorns find the home of their dreams in Central Texas. Just ask our resident sex symbol, Ian Boyd, who moved all the way from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Laura can help you find what you're looking for in the 512, the 737, or even parts of the 254 and the 210. Just, give her a call at 512-784-0505. Her email is in the description as well as the rest of her contact details. She's a friend. Give her a call.
Thank you, LC. We appreciate that deeply. All right, you ready to go to the old UTSA defense?
I'm ready.
All right. You want to do stats or you want to do kind of personnel breakdown first?
We can do quick personnel.
Cool. I can also pull this up.
I can get us started as you're bringing up your data. So probably the two most interesting guys on the defense is on their front, Brandon Brown and Joe Evans.
Yep.
These are kind of dudes that you don't usually see in G5. They look like SEC guys, right? Not Georgia, but maybe, Arkansas. And they're pretty good. I scouted them and I watched their tape from last year. They did a great job of holding the line of scrimmage. They invite double teams and they still hold ground and eat space. They're not dynamic, but they're big, strong, tough guys. What they're really missing, and this is going to be clear, is a pass rush and that twitch off the edge. And that guy plays for Texas now, Trey Moore. They also had to bring in some guys to shore up their secondary because the secondary was good last year. I told you about the corner they lost to Oregon. They brought in Denver Harris.
Yeah, good old Denver Harris.
Denver, completing his travels in college football, started at A&M, went to LSU, and now is at UTSA. He got roasted last weekend in San Marcos, gave up a 66-yard touchdown, didn't tackle very well, and I think PFF gave him a 43 coverage grade. So,
and he held in the end zone and to stop a touchdown as well, so he had a key penalty as well.
So Denver's had better days and better careers. Kind of strange to see that guy, what was he, a former top 10 recruit, state of Texas?
Yeah, man. 5-star, big deal.
His star has fallen. And then they lost some experience at safety. I've mentioned Rashad Wisdom. One thing to know about the UTSA defense is they do like to blitz. Even run blitzing, they come downhill. And because of that, historically, they have given up big plays over the top. One of the keys to their defense being good last year was that they had enough in the secondary to prevent those plays over the top and still blitz. And so, particularly at the G5 level in their conference, they were a bear for people, and they were crushing people on defense. Now, when they blitz, they're just exposing bad players in the secondary, and they're not handling it. Texas State carved them up. They had a great game plan. And Jordan McLeod, if you guys haven't seen him, he is an awesome G5 quarterback for Texas State. So I hate to say this, but I think Quinn Ewers is a little better than Jordan McLeod. So, and Arch Manning is too. So if Texas
that's a brave take.
Yeah. So if Texas wants to throw the ball around on Saturday, they will have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, they will. All right. Quick overview. 95th in the country giving up opponent points per game. Now, keep in mind, this is week 2 versus Texas State. They got blown out, so it's going to be a little bit skewed, but it's not looking great. Plays per game, they're getting a lot of plays ran against them, so they're getting tired out. So if Texas can connect some things, you'll be looking good in the second quarter versus these guys. They do all right creating some havoc, so some interceptions, some sacks, that kind of stuff.
That's the blitzing I was talking about.
Yeah, they do all right there. And then defensive rushing.
Look what they're giving up when they're inflicting that havoc. Look at the right above that. Yeah. Defensive explosivity.
Yeah, 110th in the nation. So people are huge runs and huge passes against
Live
them.
by the blitz, die by the blitz.
Yep. And then rushing. So they're 101st in the nation because they're facing a lot of rushing attempts because teams are beating them, right? Well, the first week they played an option style attack. They're going to overrun anyways, right? So that's going to skew it. And then, of course, Texas State was beating them so bad, they're going to basically jog out the third and fourth quarter. So they're facing a ton of runs. But that's because week 1 was against a rushing team. Week 2 got blown out. They do okay in opponent yards per rush. So they're kind of down to down. They're showing up, good enough fits, that kind of stuff. But the problem is they cancel that out immediately with their explosivity. So they can stop guys down to down, doesn't matter. Jaden Blue, 80 yards.
And then look, I can see the worst stat on that sheet under defense passing line 2.
Yeah, opponent yards per pass, 114th.
9.3 yards per attempt. For those of you, just to kind of help you understand, if you're at 8 or above, you're an effective passer. If you're over 9, you're a Heisman Trophy candidate as a quarterback.
Yeah,
they're allowing 9.3, and that was to Jordan McLeod, who's actually very good, and to the Kennesaw State quarterback,
which is an option quarterback,
who throws like me. So,
yep. So they're getting, and also once again, explosivity 91st in the nation. So
giving up big plays, Connor.
Yeah, it's just not good. So advanced metric and totality DFEI, they're a 108th ranked defense in the country right now. What's interesting is situationally they do all right? 52nd on third down, 37th on fourth down, pretty good in the red zone actually. So that's it's just they're giving up the big ones and killing themselves, and that's what's getting them. And once again, of note, 118th in the country and returning production. Pretty good in sacks per game, 2 per game so far. Bad in interceptions per game. And then just to round it out, just to give you a holistic view, they're the 113th ranked team in the country in special teams as well.
Look at how often they get penalized. They're getting penalized 10 times per game.
Yeah.
Again, another sign of inexperience and maybe some undisciplined players that they brought in on the portal. Another guy we'll know is they're playing a guy, Kendrick Blackshire. Remember him?
Mm-hmm. He had a dumb penalty versus Kennesaw State. He hit a guy out of bounds. And then even the announcers were like, how do you get a late year Alabama transfer that's making that kind of decision making? Even they were like, that's not what you're supposed to get in Blackshire.
Maybe that's why he's a transfer. But yeah, he had a little tryout in Austin, and then we realized it wasn't a fit. We told him to move on. He ends up at UTSA. 260-pound interior linebacker. How's that going to work against our swing passing game out in the flats?
Yeah, absolutely. It's
not good for Mr. Blackshire.
It's not. But yeah, that's why it's just strange, y'all. This is not seeing these stats on a trailer team. They haven't looked this bad since 2020 when he took them over. And so it's just, they're bad in every phase of the game, offense, defense, and special teams. So like I said, normally this would be a trap game. 2 years ago, absolutely considered it a trap game. They're just playing really, really bad. And there's not enough personnel to save them, especially with week 3. They're still trying to figure out a quarterback. And they can't run it all. Where's the avenue here, Paul, where they could even test us,
So Connor, let me ask you this then, given what we've just laid out and given the importance of Texas playing to its own standard, irrespective of the opponent, what should we do? What should it look like? I'm hearing and reading people on the board saying Quinn should only play a half, play Arch, first snap of the third quarter on. I think we need to play to a standard, play really hard and bring it, and then earn the right to get those second teamers on the field. And then I hope they play our offense. I hope they play our defense. I hope we don't just lay it up, because I think we need to build some depth. I think we need to make some guys happy. And I think we also need to communicate to the team that we're going to play to a standard the next 3 weeks, irrespective of the opponent and their power ranking and all that.
So, like, as far as like statistically, I mean, we're kind of have the advantage in every category. What I want to see from Texas to actual Texas stats is I want to see some improvement in our rushing offense and our consistency. That's really what I'm interested in. So this is rushing success rate for Texas, 67th in the country. So not consistently gaining ground. That's the biggest thing I want to see. Offensive line yards here, not great. So not a lot of good early down run blocking. So that's what I want to see. That's all it's about. So it's not so much, this is the corny coach thing where they're like, it's not about who we're playing, it's about us. But this is actually this kind of week, ULM week. That's what I want to see, shoring up these kind of leaks. And then also passing explosivity. We were talking about this. Sark really hasn't have we seen a go ball?
We have. It just became something else. So that 3rd and 13 route that we hit to Isaiah Bond on that amazing throw by Quinn, that was supposed to be an out and up, but the Michigan corner did a pretty good job of preventing the up part on the sideline. Yeah. So it became like a modified, almost like a bad seam route. Okay. And then we just adjusted. The safety did a great job rolling over on the rotation. We also missed that dagger shot to Silas Bolden in the second half, right?
Yeah.
I think the bottom line is we've got a lot of fast dudes running around out there. So if teams want to play too high and we can just burn them in the intermediate game, I guess we'll just take that and then not force it. But UTSA, heavy blitz team. So I'm very curious to see if they keep that up or they play a little bit of a shell.
So I do want to see depth, right? I want to see Silas Bolden really get involved. I want to see Jonte Cook. That kind of stuff in these games are really good. And, of course, wide receivers of all the positions are the ones you generally want to make happy. They're a little more emotional as just a
high maintenance.
Yeah, as just a stereotype, but it's pretty accurate. But that's all I want to see. More consistent run game. And UTSA, like I said, they're pretty good stopping consistent run game. So that's actually a fair matchup. And then see if we can hit the explosive ball. And then in the passing, let's get into our depth. Sure, if we can see Arch later on, wonderful. But I want to see Quinn kind of blue collar it, just hit his shots, work on the mechanics, kind of scrimmagey. I just want to see all the little things done right. But I don't care, man. If we can play Arch in the second half, sure. And then defensively, you guys can see a lot of green here. Sorry, these ones are still loading for whatever reason. That's the black boxes, but there's not a lot of questions here. I can tell you what I want to see on defense. Concrete sacks. So we got a bunch of pressures. So we can do that. We're affecting quarterbacks. We're getting them out of the pocket. We're making them throw quicker than they would like. But I would like pressures and the sacks, because the reality is getting the sacks, you're going to make them. It's like getting a penalty. I mean, you can make them lose 5-7 yards. It's a drive killer. So that's why there's value on the concrete part of the sacks as well.
Hey, we talked about the Texas offense playing really well in the red zone in our first 2 games. Check out the situational defense stat, 3rd line, red zone percentage D.
Yeah.
4th in the country. Yep. So teams are getting in the red zone, and when they get in the red zone, they're leaving with a field goal or nothing.
Yeah. And 4th down D should be pretty good too. It's just these are auto loading, and sometimes Google Sheets wants to be a little slow about that, but that's really it. We're really good in interceptions, 4th in the country in interceptions.
We've got 4 in 2 games. I'll take it.
Yeah. What's interesting, we're normally a really good special teams unit. We're a little bit middling right now. So I do want to
give that some time.
Exactly. Well, I want to see, that's why what I mean by Bolden getting involved too. I want to see him in the return game. I want to see that speed. I mean, Oregon State overutilized him. So I really want to see Bolden. I want to see Cook more.
I'll say this: if we can get Golden a good opportunity on kickoff return, I think there's a better than a coin flips chance that Golden brings one back against UTSA.
Yeah, man. If you watch him at Houston, excellent. But yeah, it's just like kind of those are the big things I want to see. Nothing crazy, and of course, you don't want some letdown type of game. UTSA, and now if UTSA stays in it till the 4th quarter, any other year, I hat tip to trailer. They're staying in it late with this team, and
it's probably about us.
Yeah, it's an us problem. It's not Trailer's coaching job. So
hey, call out to our great chat group and the folks that are in the comments. Bring us some questions, drill us, grill us. Let us know what you're thinking about UTSA or whatever else is of interest to you. We'll be happy to answer it. And then, hey, hit some likes. And if you're not subscribed yet to the channel, subscribe. I get private messages sometimes of people saying, when's the next deep dive coming out? Or when's this coming out? And I'm like, if you subscribe, you don't have to ask the question. It just pops up in your feed. So,
yep, absolutely. And then, you want to hit our next sponsor, good old Gabe Winslow?
I do want to hit our next sponsor sometimes, especially when he texts me about the Astros. And I don't want to talk about baseball, but I'm wearing an Astros hat in his honor today. Hey, if you're in need of refining your house or buying a house, this is the guy you need to call. It's Gabe Winslow. You can reach him at 832-557-1095. That's 832-557-1095. Why should you call Gabe? Well, he's great at what he does. He's a Longhorn grad. He's at the elite of his industry, literally on the top of his boards for every lender. And because of that, those lenders offer him incredible incentives that he can pass off to his clients. Take advantage of it now. If you bought a house in the last couple of years and you've got a higher interest rate, you may have noticed interest rates are plummeting and probably continuing south. Call Gabe. Why? He can refi you for free. Oh, what's the gimmick? It's going to be? No, there's no gimmick. Call Gabe. He's a wizard at this. He'll walk you through it. You can literally pay $0, get a lower rate on your house, a lower monthly payment on your house, and you can blow that money on giving Connor super chats. And both here and on the Texas Homer channel. So call Gabe, 832-557-1095. He is in your corner. He's a great dude, and he's really, really sharp.
Good stuff. And then we're not going to go through this statistically. I'm just illustrating a point of color here. This Texas versus the Roadrunners, blue is good, red is not good. This is the matchup we're kind of dealing with here. So Texas, good football team. UTSA, not a good football team. And this is from collegefootballinsiders.com. So go check them out. That's good advanced stats, but very understandable. And you can see the matchup at a glance. Always a good thing for the people that like stats. And also, stats are not the end all be all. These are just diagnostics, like we're looking at a car. So if something's blinking red, let's go verify that on the tape. But it can help. It can absolutely be insightful for what to look for on game day. Okay. Think we're good. Let's see. I think we're all less concerned about UTSA after last weekend based on their play and our play. When do you think Arch gets in third quarter? Hopefully, yeah. Why not?
Yeah, well, that depends on our play.
Right.
Sark is not going to put Arch in the third quarter if there's a sloppy first half. Or, Sark, you may have noticed, likes to run the first team first drive of the third quarter, even with a commanding lead. Why? Because he wants them to get used to the idea of coming out of halftime and still keeping it together, keeping focus. If we botch that drive, he'll put them in and they'll run another drive until they get it right, until Sark feels like they're bringing it together. So the real answer to this is that depends on Texas. That depends on the score, not just on the play of our offense, but also our defense. If UTSA's got 10 points at halftime, we probably don't have the margin we need to safely put in guys right away. If it's a big goose egg and we're up 31-0, it's a lot easier to roll Arch out there. I think the main thing I would say, Connor, and maybe I'll see if you agree with me, we put Arch in, let's run the offense. Let's not just hand it.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's not just mostly hand it off. Let's throw the ball around. Not be jerks, but just run the offense. Call whatever you would have called anyway in a competitive game. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, run it like their first team. That would be cool. And then let's do score 70. Let's get Trey Owens in. Let's be super cool. I think unironically we got a gift on our schedule of having Mississippi State bye, then OU. I feel like our guys will be primed for OU's offense. Can't wait for the chance for the backup in the second quarter. So is it by OU or OU by?
It is
by OU.
No. It's the bye is between Mississippi State and ULM, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay,
isn't it?
I think so.
Hold on. There's an easy way to solve this, Connor.
Okay, I have a powerful machine here.
I have a tool that allows me to look at schedules. Oh, nope. The bye's before OU. My bad.
Cool.
right after Mississippi State. So, yeah, great point. Yeah, we're going to have a ton of opportunity to prep OU. Here's the question. Do we just prep OU or do we put a little Georgia in there too?
Yeah. I mean, that offense is awful. I don't know what's going on there. Ian will be able to help you guys out, but I just it's poorly coordinated.
Yeah, I've been around long enough to realize that I hate to be the cliche guy, but
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I've watched terrible Texas teams beat really good OU teams, and I've watched evenly matched OU teams beat us by 49. So if you're not ready to get in a fight in Dallas at that kickoff, you're not going to win the game, even if you're the better team.
Yeah. I still prefer not facing a Riley offense, though. I'll take this version of the OU offense in this matchup.
And hell, I'd rather not face Levy. I think this is true. This is good. And then, other than Burks, I don't think they have a lot of threatening stuff at receiver. And given our upgrade at cornerback and our secondary upgrade overall, we're not going to give up a lot of cheap and easy throws. And I think Jackson Arnold thrives on those throws. I think he struggles a little bit when he has to be a little more precise.
I wonder, when's Nick Anderson coming back? Because I really like him as a receiver, but he's been dealing with injury.
Well, if you love him so much, why don't you marry him, Connor?
I think he's an early rounder. I think he's a great receiver. He's excited.
The enemy.
Yeah. Yes. Now, actually, you know what? I hate him. I don't even think he's going to get drafted.
There you go.
Yeah. But
I don't know when Anderson's coming back. I know he missed the Houston game. He's been limited during practice. But yeah, there's a big drop off from him to Brendan Thompson and JJ.
He scored a touchdown versus Houston. I think that was
good for him.
Good for him. But yeah, I agree. And then Mississippi State, I did not watch the game. I just watched the highlights, and they got ran all over, man. That was pretty crazy. What's that back's name?
Scatabo.
Yeah, I was gonna say he is the best name ever. And,
he ran for 260.
Yeah, it was insane. I watched the highlights and it was pretty much just him. So that's gonna be interesting. Okay, let's see. OU podcast saying they don't know Anderson's injury, should be back by Texas. Okay, I think that'll naturally add more dynamism to the Oklahoma offense.
Well, think about this. The most consequential personnel move that we've made in the offseason was Jahdae Barron to corner.
I agree.
He and Malik Muhammad, if you have one shutdown corner, as we saw last week, we can just ignore that guy and attack everywhere else.
Right.
If you have two good corners, you can't just bypass that.
Right.
At some point, you need to get the ball to Nick Anderson. At some point, you got to get the ball outside. And Deion Burks can catch 10 balls for 81 yards, but that is not going to change the game.
Yeah, you have to go to tight end, right? And you saw Colson Loveland is an awesome tight end, and he wasn't able to do anything of consequence against us. So
he had the most inconsequential 8 catches I've ever seen in a football game.
And that fumble, just like they were in his head, man. He was expecting to get hit, and that's why he fumbled there. So he was seeing ghosts and all sorts of stuff. Really great player, but you can see, I mean, if you can X out 1 and 2 on the outside and you just have to worry about a tight end or a slot, we're going to be all right there.
Ashley is dropping some science in the chat here, saying they damn sure ain't scoring a touchdown in 117 in the fourth quarter against our new defense. Agreed.
Yep. Yeah, Ashley knows her ball. Loveland's fumble was wild. Yeah, it was super weird. All right, you guys think Sark has the Archie game? Circled a little bit for how much the media kept bringing up that loss, including I'm the media. That loss over the last few years. Yeah, I heard somebody say like Arkansas could be a trap game or something like that. I'm like, normally I'd agree because that environment's awesome. I think they have some interesting athletes this year, but no, just because Sark got so embarrassed there, I think Sark's gonna really be keyed in on that one. That was the worst Sark's got beat by a mile, right? Or was Iowa State worse? I can't remember, but yeah, I think Sark definitely remembers walking into Fayetteville. That was no good.
Yeah. Arkansas's improved. Petrino's helped them. The transfer quarterback has made them more dynamic. Yep. And they've got a good D line. No one's attacked their linebackers in secondary effectively yet, and we're going to. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, and they gave it to OK State.
Okay, they outplayed the Cowboys.
Yeah, they did. So it was, you were at that game. I remember watching that game just on the TV and the consistent roar of the crowd just the entire time. I was really surprised.
How good is Taft? Asks someone's in the chat. Well,
real good.
William Howard Taft, I think, was an average president. He was also a Supreme Court justice. A lot of people don't know that. But Michael Taft is real good. And we've been saying that for a while. I've been trying to tell people that judging the stereotypes are not always useful. You need to actually watch the game, and you need to realize that Taft is a guy that's indispensable to that defense, and the coaches don't like when he's off the field.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Who is the player that hasn't played? Okay. Who is the player through 2 games that hasn't played as much, but will be a big contributor this year? I don't know.
Wingo.
Yeah, dude. Wingo, man. That's a player right there, man.
That guy, 210-pound freshman pulling away against what was considered an elite defense. Do you think he got walked down? Because I actually think that guy had a little bit of an angle on him. He erased the angles of the linebackers and that safety early. I can tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, you still got to make fun of them from getting caught anytime they're elite athletes like that.
Yeah.
But it happened. I mean, but remember, Bijan had that problem. Bijan could run for 80, and then the last 10, he would have to decelerate, and they would be able to get him. But I watched that play, and I was like, they're running an Xavier Worthy jet with him. And then I was like, oh, whoa. I didn't realize. I knew he had speed. I didn't realize he had reverse speed like that. I thought it was pure downfield. But
do you have anyone else other than Taft? Colin Simmons.
Yeah, that's a good one.
He only played 21 snaps against.
His
and it felt like
plays ratio was crazy.
It felt like he played 50.
Yeah, Simmons. I want Bolden to be a bigger impact. I don't know if he will be a bigger contributor though. So I really don't have a great one. Colin Simmons, I'll just steal yours, Paul. I think he's his get off, man. And then just running through the chest of Evan Link, that right tackle, all that stuff. Trey Moore will have 2.5 sacks against his former team. I am interested to see Trey versus UTSA.
He's going to be fired up. And I got to tell you, that's not going to be – so people always are like, well, when you face your former team, what's the matchup like? They know him. He knows them. The pass rusher.
They know that he's better than them. That's what they know.
He's better than them.
Yeah.
And he's practiced against them. The pass rusher has a huge advantage.
Yeah.
I think Trey's going to have a great game. I think we're going to see a lot of those Greyhound packages in this game, and I don't think that bodes very well for poor UTSA.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's hit
our Jacob Woodyard with some good advice for everyone.
Where is he? Where is he? Oh, yeah. Everyone, like and subscribe. I think it ends up like 50% of the people that watch the videos do not subscribe. So
you know
if you're
what?
watching,
if you don't like and or subscribe, you're dead to us.
Yeah. And well, there's also a way I can turn on like subscriber only chat.
We should do that and just I'll tell everyone all the secret inside info that I know about the team.
Yep. Yeah, we know. We get the opening script. Sark gives us everything. We know every single play.
Sark has texted me during a game and been like, hey, do you have any ideas?
Yeah. At half, we just let them know, like, hey, this is kind of what we're looking for.
I'm like, Sark, we talked about this. Run the ball against 3 high, man. You got to punish that.
Yep.
He's like, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yep. He's a good guy. We think we'll keep him at coach. We're the boosters that you always hear about. we're the guys that control everything at Texas.
Yeah, we are the big cigars.
Yep. All right, so let's look at the games of interest. There's really not a lot here, but let's pull them up. Opponent games of interest. The Texas A&M Aggies at Florida. They are 3.5-point favorites. Paul, what do you think? Are you staying away from this?
How updated is that line, guy?
What?
How updated is that line?
From this morning.
Is it really?
Yeah.
All right, it was 4.5 last night.
Yeah.
I'm
from an aggregator that kind of takes all of them, and makes.
Did you say aggregator?
There we go.
That's why you guys tune in.
He's
That's
not
why you
just
guys
handsome, guys. Funny as well.
Hey, look, this is a desperate game. All A&M and Florida ever seems to play are desperate games. So this is going to be awesome. I think any result will be kind of entertaining because if A&M wins, they begin that thing of like, oh, we're going to get it back. We're still a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they lose, it's just more misery and somehow TU made the loss happen. And
they do it to themselves because Wigman got graded the top quarterback in the nation from the McNeese game. And they're like, see, we told you guys, he's elite. And it's just like, you guys do this to yourselves. You set yourself up to hurt your own feelings.
You know, Connor, you want some proof that McNeese State is bad at football?
Sure.
They sent me a recruiting letter in high school.
They were kicking the tires.
So that just tells you they're not very good at talent identification.
Yeah.
I don't have strong feelings on this. I know this. If Florida's defense can just stop busting coverages, they'll be a lot better. I also don't like their 450-pound nose tackle who is winded by like the third play of any drive. So
he thinks too much.
Yeah, but DJ Lagway is going to introduce an interesting X factor. But I do actually think Elko. Look, let's not underestimate the Aggies on defense and Elko's creativity. He's going to show Lagway a lot of different coverages, a lot of different stuff that's going to try to scramble that young man's mind. So Lagway is going to have to kind of athlete his way through some of this game. But yeah, I mean, if Florida hasn't quit, this game will go down to the wire. I wouldn't bet it.
Yeah, Lagway threw an incredible pass last week. And also just a good kid, man. We know his quarterback coach. He's just Lagway's a solid kid. What is Florida's run game like? Because A&M's run defense is awful. Does Florida have anything there? Because I know secondary-wise, but can they run it on them at least?
I've seen them run effectively, and then I've seen them be pathetic.
Okay.
They did lose their most explosive guy in Etienne. He now starts for Georgia.
Right.
So that's a tough loss for them. But yeah, I think it's going to be Lagway. That's going to be the guy that carries this game.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out Lagway. And then we have Oklahoma Sooners versus Tulane. They got into a parking lot brawl with Houston, which was enjoyable. I watched every minute of that game. What's going on in Oklahoma, man?
Well, they're struggling on offense. The defense has been up to speed so far against bad opponents. But, yeah, they're struggling on offense. Their offensive line is really poor. They don't have great threats at receiver beyond Deion Burks. And Jackson Arnold has not been that guy. I mean, the sell on Jackson Arnold is that he's a creator. He's a something out of nothing guy. He's, this sort of almost elite dual threat when he needs to be. And that really hasn't been the case. I think the O-line has something to do with that. Look, Beanbaugh, the O-line coach at OU, is always portrayed as this world beater who can do something with nothing. But he's got nothing this year, and he's not doing something with it. They lost 5 starters, man.
I know.
4.5, depending on how you want to rank it. And they're struggling. And if they have any injuries on their offensive line, they're putting dudes out there that have no business on the field. This line actually opened at 16.5, believe it or not. And I may have bet that on the Tulane side. So now it's gone down to 13.5. Tulane looked great against Kansas State last week. They lost by 7 at home. I'm worried they might have shot their best effort against the Wildcats, and they're not as good on the road also. But boy, if you're struggling with Houston, and Houston I think is truly bad, Tulane's going to give them a game. So I expect this one to go to the wire as well.
Yeah, and they just lack discipline. They're making dumb penalties as well. They weren't looking very well coached on the OU side.
Nope.
And any team with a pulse would have been able to pull out that win. And you had Venables post-game say twice that they should have lost that game.
Yeah, I'll say about Venables, he's pretty honest in his assessments, particularly in unguarded moments after a game with a lot of emotion, and he'll kind of call it like it is.
Yeah, so he's done well there. And then finally, Georgia, good at football. At Kentucky. Kentucky just looked awful versus South Carolina. I think all of us kind of thought Kentucky might be the dark horse here, or Kentucky's going to be the trap game, or they're going to, punch us in the mouth. And then that South Carolina game, sheesh.
Well, you look at Kentucky's roster objectively.
Yeah.
You've got 5 or 6 NFL guys starting on their 22. And so you're like, all right, well, if their quarterback is at least average, this should be a pretty good football team. Well, the quarterback is not at least average, and the rest of the team is not playing. I think Stoops' little weekend affair with A&M, and then coming back after it and trying to, say to his wife, hey, what's wrong, sweetie? Why the long face?
Yeah.
I don't think that's playing very well in Lexington. It didn't seem like the team played very hard for him.
No, they didn't. And it was, what is it? Kentucky radio, the guys, the On3 version of their site, they do a great job. They did the post game while the game was still going on out in front. They were so frustrated by what they were seeing. They were like,
well, for those who don't know, the score was 31-0, and it felt worse than that. It was in Lexington. The crowd was just booing their home team, and that South Carolina team barely got by Old Dominion at home the week previous. So things ain't looking good. Thing that they make really good bourbon in Lexington.
They're going to need it. They, that was, you can see the culture is screwed up there because their coach tried to run over to A&M. Also, what a brutal situation to basically get the job and be on your way. And then they're like, fan reacted.
Turn the plane around.
You remember when Sark was going to hire Stoops? And then the fans just revolted. That was basically what happened there. And that was
I got a little insight on that one from someone who knows Sark. And Sark was like, yeah, I'll hire this guy. Cool. Because they were on the same staff. Stoops was a GA he's like an analyst or something at Bama, right?
Yeah.
And so Sark got along with him. He's like, oh, he's an experienced coach, and sounds like a good guy.
Thinking like an actual coach, not an emotional fan.
Well, and he didn't understand the history, and so he got lit up on like all of his texts from everyone, and then Sark, to his credit, didn't do the Tom Herman like, this is my team, I'll hire my staff. Sark was like, oh, bro. He got up and he's like, oh, bro. Yeah. And he just called Stoops. He's like, hey, man, it's not happening. Sorry.
Yeah.
Pretty funny.
That was one of the early indications that like, okay, he's not the guy that's just like, I'm the boss. That was a funny story. But same thing happened in Kentucky, and you can see it's having adverse effects. All right, Paul, any last things? Are you good to wrap this one up?
No, I think we've delivered one of the greatest live shows in the history of Inside Texas. And in fact, live shows anytime, anywhere.
In general.
Better than most Saturday Night Lives, in fact.
Honestly, probably.
Probably true.
They haven't been that good. But this has been fun, fans. Thank you, guys. We'll be back on tomorrow, 9:30 to 10:30 with the one and only Ian Boyd. We'll go more into the schematic side. Paul, thank you for coming on. And fans, thank you for watching.